Hey guys, the video you're about to watch I originally wanted to put up on Halloween, but the reviews kinda got in the way, and as you can tell it's now well past Halloween at this point, but fuck it, for me every day's Halloween. You're about to hear from a friend of mine who chose to remain anonymous for this video, who claims to have had certain experiences at the funeral home she works at. Now, this is sort of a continuation of something I did last year where I interviewed my friend Chris about paranormal experiences that he claims to have had. Now, I want to make it clear that by no means is this video meant to prove or disprove the existence of ghosts, and by no means am I trying to convert anybody into a belief in the paranormal with this video. I just happen to have an interest in the paranormal, even though I'll admit I'm somewhat on the fence about whether or not I really believe in this stuff, but I have friends who claim to have had certain experiences, and I thought it would be cool to have them share some of their stories. Now, after you hear from my friend, I'm gonna show some weird things that me and some friends of mine have captured in pictures and videos, and again, I'm not saying that they're actually ghosts, but some of these things I don't really have an explanation for, but that will be for after you hear my friend's story.
I think when you work in a funeral home, people expect there to be these huge instances of supernatural occurrences, and it's really not like that. I mean, there have definitely been plenty of unexplained incidences when I worked at a funeral home that seem pretty minor, but then they add up. I would work alone some nights, and there would be a wake going on, a visitation, and when everyone left the building and I was the only one there, it would get quiet. Most nights I was totally fine. It was just another day at work, but other times you would get this feeling in the back of your neck like someone's watching your every move, or you would be cleaning up and you would see a shadow cross the hall. It happened to me on more than one occasion that I was alone in the funeral home cleaning up, and I would look up, and out of the corner of my eye I'd see a tall black figure just walk across the hall. And not even like it was a run or it was something quick out of the corner of my eye. It would be a leisurely stroll across the hall, and it would freak me out because no one else was there. Doors were locked. There wasn't any sounds for the footsteps. It was just this block kind of going past. It was always the tall male figure that would pass, and it didn't happen often. It would be every once in a while when I would hear or I would feel the kind of creeping sensation on the back of my neck that someone else was there, even though no one was there. And, you know, I'd have my phone with me. I'd have my cell phone. I'd have the work phone. I'd have all the lights on. But it would be something that, you know, you get that feeling in the back of your neck and there's just no stopping it. And, you know, I had instances where I was alone and I thought someone called my name. And obviously no one could call my name. I was the only one there. Doors were locked. All the lights were on. Everything was cleared out. But you know, someone called my name and it wasn't a voice I was familiar with. So you kind of second guess yourself. You think, am I making this up? Is my anxiety getting to me about where I am at? What's been going on here? I had an instance that probably freaked me out the most where it was a night that I was working alone. Nothing was going on. And the funeral home had redone the bathrooms up on the main level. And so now we had 2 bathrooms on the main level. There were some old, sometimes noisy pipes that were outside of the bathrooms that if someone on the second floor in the apartment upstairs was using the shower or flushed the toilet too many times in a row, you would hear, you know, those pipes creaking, and you would hear some noises and banging from those pipes. That was normal. But in these main bathrooms, we had a paper towel holder that needed a key to be unlocked. So anytime you needed to refill it, you had to get the key, you'd have to unlock it, and you'd have to be careful because this paper towel would open by swinging down. And if you didn't hold it as it swung down, it would bounce against the wall. And so I was working alone one night, and all of a sudden I hear this banging. And I'm like, that's not the pipes. That's not the sound the pipes make when someone uses it. I knew no one was upstairs at the moment because who was living up there would say goodbye to me, and they had left for the night, and they'd be back later after I had left. So I knew I was alone in the entire building. So I heard the banging, and I knew it wasn't the bathroom pipes. I knew it wasn't from upstairs. And I'm like, okay, that sounded like the paper towel holder swung down and bounced against the wall. Like, that was really loud. I don't know why. Maybe whoever refilled it before I came in didn't lock it, so it came undone. So I checked both bathrooms, and there's nothing wrong. The paper towels are totally fine. The holder's locked in place. It never fell. And as I'm in the bathroom, I'm feeling the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And I'm like, this is not a place I want to be right now. And I kind of just left, and I holed up in the main office, and I just waited the rest of the night out because something was telling me that I was not alone, and I did not want to find out. You know, when you work at the funeral home, you think to yourself, okay, like, you're in there enough during the day and at night that you don't psych yourself out. It's just part of your norm. But then you'll have those moments where you feel and you know you're not alone. And if you talk to anyone in the funeral home, I don't know, maybe this is just the one I worked at, but they all believe that we will have instances where it's not the living that's with us, that it is something else, be it a ghost, a spirit, whatever you believe. And we would get families that had previously waked their deceased loved ones at the funeral home, and they'd come in and they'd tell us crazy stories, like how it was the middle of January, there was snow on the ground, and this one woman's family member loved butterflies, absolutely loved them, and they had gone to the gravesite after her burial, and there were just a bunch of butterflies flying over her gravesite in the middle of January. And there's snow on the ground, and you think to yourself, that's not anything you ever see. So there's definitely those kind of signs that we see in our daily life that we might not always connect with, but that people would come into the funeral home and tell us about all the time. My dad is a funeral director, and he has worked at that funeral home for decades. And there was a point in time where he would walk through the main floor of the funeral home by himself late at night. And it would be after he had a late night call that he had to come pick someone up and bring them back. And he'd walk through this funeral home all by himself, and he'd hear someone call his name. And they would call his nickname too. And it was always like, no one else is there. You know, people at work would call him that, but it wasn't a voice he recognized either. So it's, you're kind of wondering. And it had happened once it happened to me that someone called my name with the voice I didn't recognize, that I got freaked out. I spoke to my dad. I'm like, Dad, like, what is going on? Has this happened to you? Like, this is just freaking me out. And he spoke to his priest friend, because in the funeral business, you make a lot of connections and a lot of friends with people from all different cultures, all different religions. And this particular priest friend he knew since he was a teenager, and he went to the local church. And he had said, there's nothing you need to worry about at the funeral home, because there could be loved ones there. There could be ghost spirits, whatever you want to call them. But there have been so many religious services happening in this building that is so blessed of a place that you can't have evil spirits there. They just wouldn't be able to survive there. They wouldn't be able to come there. That there's just been so many religious services and blessings that it's just not where they would go. And as comforting as that is, I still don't want to see anyone. I don't care if you are a good spirit, a good ghost. I don't care. You would freak me out, so please do not make yourself present to me. I mean, I would talk to myself out loud sometimes when I worked at night, because I knew, that feeling on the back of your neck that someone's with you, even though you don't see anyone. So I'd talk to myself, and I'd be like, please, like, I can't, just don't show yourself. I don't care if you're here or not. Just leave me alone. Don't bother me. I mean, I would hear, they have offices in the basement of the funeral home, and I would hear noises from down there, and I would not go down there at night at all, because it was just so creepy. It wasn't redone nicely like the rest of the place, and it was just a very creepy vibe. And so when I hear noises down there, I would just avoid it. I'm like, you know what? whatever. You do your thing downstairs. It's where like the casket showroom was downstairs. And so I'm just like, I'm not even gonna go by that, not gonna mess by it. I know one of the women that lived in the apartment above the funeral home, she would tell us, she jokingly named a ghost Steven, and she would tell us all these different things that would happen that just weren't explained. Like she had a mini fridge in her room and all of the other things would work when plugged into that outlet. But for some reason, this mini fridge would turn off at random points and there was nothing wrong with the outlet. Anything else was plugged in. They never had an issue. The mini fridge can be plugged in any other outlet, totally fine. But for some reason, if she like she always like said that if she was, not having a good day or if she was, I guess, putting off bad vibes or a bad aura, that would happen. And then, sometimes she had a makeup mirror that would light up that never had any issues with it. And then she would like not say hi to Steven one morning and all of a sudden the lights on her makeup mirror would not work and they'd turn off and they'd flicker as she's using it. So that was definitely something that she would say. There was a radio in her apartment that she ended up leaving on because she had a tiny dog and it was just some noise for him throughout the day. And what happened was the radio had a CD player and there was a Christmas CD in there that's been there for years probably in that player that no one's touched in forever. And so she started using this CD player to have the music going for her dog, just keep it company. And what would happen was she was in her apartment one night and the radio goes on and it starts playing the CD and it's these Christmas songs. And it's, a 22 track album on the CD and it's playing these songs and, she just, wasn't touching it, wasn't going by it, whatever, it can do its thing. And it stopped at track 16, and there's just silence. And it's not like you heard the CD skipping. It's not like it was paused or anything like that. And then in the middle of the night, it picked up and it continued. And she had turned off the radio and stuff like that, but it had turned itself back on, and it continued from track 16 and finished the CD. And she was just... she got some holy water, she doused the apartment, and she was fine after that. But it's one of those things that she's like, I gotta say hi to Steven. And, once they were on good terms again, he kind of let them be in peace, and they haven't, really heard anything since. So knock on wood, that stops. But it's just a pile of different little moments. People think things are so much scarier or that there's so much more happening, but it's little things that they pile up and you think you hear something. I mean, I would work alone at night and I would hear the doorbell ring, but no one would be at the door and no one was at the door when it was ringing because I could see it from where I was at the office. So then you think to yourself, am I just thinking this? Is this something that's actually happening? I know it wasn't any electrical malfunction because no one else ever had that happen to them, but it would happen to me every once in a while when I worked at night and I was alone, and I'd think to myself, okay, like what can I do to, make time go by a little bit faster? And then all of a sudden I'd hear the doorbell ring, but no one was there. And so it's just just a pile of different things all put together. It's just crazy, and if you talk to anyone, I guess, in the funeral business, they'll probably have their own stories, just little instances that you're able to brush off and just continue on with your day. I think, the ones that just freaked me out the most were just when I'd see that figure, just a black figure, stroll leisurely across the hall from one chapel to the other when I was alone and all the doors were locked. Like, you do a sweep before you lock all the doors, and then I do another sweep after just to make sure that no one's there. And so no one had been in the funeral home, no one could get in. And I was almost done cleaning up. I had the trash bags, I was going to bring them out to the dumpster, and I see the figure walk across the hall, and I'm just like, nope. I cannot look down that hall anymore. I'm going to freak myself out if they're just standing there looking at me. Because you don't hear the footsteps. You don't hear the breathing. It's no one actually there. But then you got to think to yourself, is the feeling on the back of my neck just, me getting in my own head? Or is it just someone else is actually there? They're just not alive. But it's definitely some interesting circumstances have happened, and I 100% without a doubt believe that there are otherworldly things, which be they are ghosts, spirits, orbs, something else. I 100% believe that they are possible and that they are sometimes in our world, but I just do not want to interact with them. I hope that they find peace and that they are okay, but please just leave me alone. Yeah, but I 100% believe that there are ways that they try to communicate with us. I know a lot of people believe that cardinals are loved ones that have passed, that they are coming to visit or check on things, and it's just their sign of saying we're okay. I 100% believe that as well. I think there's just too much that we don't know that I can't write off. And there's too many instances where it's happened to me that it's just not a coincidence. It's definitely something with purpose. And I don't want to be involved with it. Just leave me alone. I'll do my job. You can go haunt or chill or do whatever you want, and we're good. That's it.
I hope you enjoyed my friend's story. Now I just want to show some pictures and videos that I have that have some weird things in them. And again, I'm not saying they're actually paranormal. I just don't really know exactly what they are. Now, there's a cemetery in Yaphank, New York, which is maybe 30 or 40 minutes from where I live. It's called Almshouse. I'm not sure if I'm saying the name of the cemetery right, but basically it's a potter's field, basically like a cemetery for unclaimed graves or the really, really poor. The first time I was there, me and my friend went there at like maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just decided to take some pictures, and I ended up getting this one picture, and I didn't notice it until I brightened the photo up, but you see what looks like almost like a white figure out in the distance, and I can't tell you exactly what that is. I don't know if that's like a physical object out in the distance, but you just see this like white figure out in the distance, and it's really freaking weird. I also have this picture, which, okay, this could just be a formation in the mist, I'll admit that, but it's kind of cool and kind of creepy looking. But then I have this picture. Now, again, I'm not saying this is anything paranormal, but it is kind of freaky looking. Now, granted, I understand that the picture is not in the best quality because I took it on my iPhone and it was like at night and I brightened the image up on my computer. But looking at this image right here, tell me that doesn't look like a fucking face. I was there a few days later during the day, and I took some photos, and I took this one photo. Now, if we zoom into the trees, maybe I'm just seeing patterns where there aren't any, but you see these two things here, which to me almost look like freaking faces. Now, realistically, they're probably just formations in the branches and the light shining through the branches, but still, they do kind of look like faces, and whether they're ghosts or not, it's still pretty fucking creepy looking. I was there a few nights later, this time with a whole group of people, and my friend sent me this photo that one of her friends took. Now, I don't really know the person who took this photo that well, so So, I have no way of knowing whether or not this photo is faked, but I will say if this is not faked, then holy fucking shit, but again, I don't really know the person who took this photo, so I'll admit it could be faked, but in this photo you see the outline of what looks like a little boy in a hat. Now I want to cut to a video that my friend shot the same night we were there, and I was literally standing right next to her when she recorded this, and it could be nothing, but at one point you see something white go right by the camera lens, and you also see these weird formations in the mist at one point, and it could be nothing. I'm not saying that this is legitimate proof of anything, but make of this what you will.
Do you live in these woods? Are you buried in here? Do you want us to leave?
Now, this next video was shot a few months later. Me and my friend Chris were back at that same cemetery, and we were just walking, and at a certain point in this, you hear what almost sounds like a very quick whisper, and I'll play it straight, and then I'm gonna play that same audio slowed down a little bit.
Else just to observe it. I need to keep my eyes off of them. This is
Again, make of that what you will. This last one I'm going to show is probably the funniest and the most bizarre out of all of them. Now, a few months ago, me, my friend Matt, and my friend Zave, we shot this comedy skit called Tommy's Positive, where Matt plays this character named Tommy who goes to get tested for COVID, and it turns out he actually is positive for something much worse. But this is actually an outtake from the video. At a certain point, you're gonna hear a voice after Matt speaks, and let's just say that me, Matt, and Zave were the only ones in this part of the park when we were shooting this video, and I don't fucking know whose voice this is, because it's not my voice, it's not Zave's voice, and it's certainly not Matt's voice.
gonna be cool over there!
Truth be told, I have no idea what made that voice, so make of it what you will.